Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Jyotirmayananda Society, our journey to self-realization. Please subscribe our channel for the mystical meanings of the scriptures and to enjoy daily satsang with us. We are currently exploring the book Yoga of Perfection, which has the summary of Bhagavad Gita Shlokas. Commentary is by my Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayananda Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. So we are currently studying chapter 14, and today we will be starting with shloka number 23, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, shloka 23. Lord Krishna is continuing to guide Arjuna. In this shloka, he says, Udasinavasadasinau guneryo na vichalyate gunavartanta ityeva yovatishthati nengate. Meaning, seated like one indifferent, he is not disturbed by the gunas. He knows that the gunas alone operate and not the self, and thus being established in the self, he moves not. Explanation: the world of Maya or relativity is constituted of the three gunas of nature or Prakriti. These gunas manifest in the form of ego, intellect, mind, and senses, and act upon the gunas. All these things manifesting in the form of the objects of the world. So, everything we see in this world is comprised of the three gunas, and we have discussed that in the past or almost daily. The three gunas are sattva or purity, rajas or activity, and tamas or inertia. And the sage who sees the self through his intuitive vision is a silent witness of the operation of the gunas. He is not impacted by them because he has transcended the self. Thus, as the screen on which a cinema show is projected is unconcerned and unaffected by the diverse actions of the story, in the same way, the sage remains unaffected by the projections of the world process, being centered in the self, which is the underlying reality of all that exists. So that is the meaning of this shloka. Moving on to shloka number 24, chapter 14, Lord Krishna says, Sam dukha sukha swastha samloshtasma kanchanaha tulya priya priyo dhira stulya nindatma sanstutihi. Meaning, ever established in the self, he is alike to pleasure and pain. He regards a clod of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold as equal in value. He is firm in wisdom and keeps his mind balanced in conditions that are agreeable and disagreeable, treating praise and censure alike. Very profound shloka, hard to practice in real life, and this is where the sadhana comes in, our discipline. So, pleasure arises as virtuous karmas fructify. Explanation: pain is the result of vicious karmas. Virtue leads to pleasure, and pleasure leads to attachment. Vice leads to pain, and pain causes hatred. These six form the spokes of the wheel of the world process: virtue and vice, pleasure and pain, attachment and hatred. The central axle of the wheel is the ego center or the ahamkara. A sage transcends this ego center and realizes, I am the non dual self. Therefore, he rises beyond virtue and vice. He maintains his balanced mind in all conditions of life. Objects of the world are of value on the basis of the subtle desires of the mind. A sage who has dissolved the subtle desires, he considers gold, a piece of stone, and a clod of earth alike in value and significance. Gold is nothing but a piece of stone. All material possessions are passing phenomenon. Having attained the infinite treasure of the self, he considers the wealth of the entire universe as a straw. He may still keep the the gold in his locker and the piece of mud in his yard, but he is not attached to anything. That is the main message here. Not that he will throw gold away, but practically, whether it's gold or dust, to him it's all the same. He is a dhira. Dhira is a spiritual hero who is firmly established in wisdom. He cannot be shaken by the diverse conditions of the world, whether they are agreeable or disagreeable. Praise cannot add to his spiritual glory, and censure cannot diminish his unfading attainment. Therefore, he is beyond them. Moving on to Shloka number 25. मानपमानयोस्तुल्यो मित्रारिपक्षयोः सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी गुणातीतः स उच्यते. Meaning, he is the same in honor and dishonor, alike to friend and foe. He has abandoned all karmic involvements. He is verily called Gunatita, the one who has crossed beyond the three gunas. Explanation: the pairs of opposites affect the ignorant, but a sage does not become affected by them. He does not recognize any difference between honor and dishonor from a deeper level of understanding. To him, both are the same. Because he does not have subtle desires in his heart, friends and foes are alike to him. The rising and subsiding waves are the same for the ocean. In the same way, a sage who is in the possession of self realization sees the same self reflected in friend and foe. He sees unity in the midst of diversity. He is contented and serene even in the worst conditions of life. He enjoys perpetual serenity because he has perfect adaptation to the cosmic scheme of things. He does not find anything out of place. Pleasure and pain, gain and loss, day and night, honor and dishonor, these constitute the rhythm of the cosmic dance. So he just enjoys the dance. He delights in the Atman alone, even though he is in the midst of the objects of the world. Therefore, his movements in the world do not cause new karmas to be formed. He has no karmic involvements. Others, however, continue to exhaust their past karmas, and at the same time, they continue to create seeds for future developments. A sage, having risen above the gunas, does not live to create karmas, but he lives to work out the fructifying karmas of the past with a sense of detachment and transcendence. Moving on to shloka number 26. Ma cha yo avyabhichareण bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Meaning, he who worships me with unwavering devotion, he crosses beyond these three gunas and becomes qualified for becoming one with Brahman or the Absolute. Beautiful shloka. This question of Arjuna, how does a sage attain the state of crossing beyond the three gunas, is being answered by the divine Lord Shri Krishna. It is by unswerving devotion to the divine self that a sage goes beyond the three gunas. A sage unites himself with God in every plane of his existence. He learns the art of total surrender to the divine self. He lives to become an instrument of the divine will, even like a flute in the divine hands. His feelings bloom into bhava or divine love, and bhava unfolds itself into anubhava, meaning experience of divine communion. His reason transforms itself into intuition. His entire mind is lit up with the radiance of pragya, the intuitive vision of the self. Every movement of such a sage is an act of worship of the Supreme. He lives and moves in God. He discovers himself as the divine self. Unswerving devotion to God is the means to the attainment of freedom from the sway of the gunas, and thereby from the world process of repeated birth and death. Whoever treads the path of developing unswerving devotion to God qualifies himself to be free from the sway of the gunas and ultimately attains Brahman. So, with this, we conclude our satsang for today, and I will see you in tomorrow's satsang. Hari Om Tat Sat.